Joining me now is Mitch Roschelle, principal at Madison Ventures Plus and a longtime market analyst, friend of the show. Good morning to you, my friend. Let me start with China. Why does President Trump keep moving that goalpost? And does that continued uncertainty impact consumer prices in a good way or a bad way right now?
I think it's more about market stability, Markie, than it is about consumer prices per se. His use of tariffs, or the really aggressive ones, are to get the other party, in this case China, to the table to negotiate. It's true. It's a business way of negotiating as opposed to perhaps a governmental one. And it's been working, and China's been cooperative in terms of talks. They may be slow playing us, but they're making some progress on both sides. So he keeps sort of moving the deadline as a sign of good faith. We'll see. Ultimately, sooner or later, there has to be a deadline that's definitive, or else you're never going to have a deal. So we'll see. November 10th. I'm sure you and I will be talking about it again.
Yeah, and what's the economic fallout from that if a deal isn't reached at the end of that 90 days?
China in particular, I think it would be, I wouldn't say catastrophic, but it would be catastrophic light because we rely so heavily on what I'll call cheap goods from China, which wouldn't be cheap anymore. We can deal with that as an economy. Brooke mentioned, importers absorbing some of it. The consumer ultimately is going to pay the piper if that charging cable that's $11 becomes $16, and I think that's going to be the norm that we'd have to live with. But I think it's in China's best interest to negotiate because we're their biggest customer. So at some point, both sides have to figure out what's important to them and settle on the middle ground.
Yeah, we'll see what happens come November. In the meantime, let's look ahead to the next 60 minutes from right now. Mitch, what are you expecting in today's CPI report? And how might that reflect Trump's tariffs that are currently in play?
Yeah, I think Brooke was right. I think we're going to see dry goods, furniture, electronics, those items tick up a little bit. Nothing earth-shattering, but a little bit. But the bigger items that are nagging in inflation really have nothing to do with tariffs. Last month, home electricity was the biggest item. Auto insurance and home insurance tend to be the big items. Interestingly enough, last month we saw restaurant meals going up in price, probably having nothing to do with tariffs. So, inflation is stubborn. It takes a long time to get rid of it. And the items that are really pesky, I think, are completely divorced from the tariff discussion. And that's why the Fed has been so reluctant to cut interest rates.
Yeah. We'll see what this report has in store today. Mitch Roschelle got it ended there, but thanks as always for being here. We'll see you again soon.
You bet, Markie. Yeah, see you soon.